not to mention all the side bets that were being made. Deals done in the shops, and deals done on the footpath, and deals done in the dark. She shuddered to think of the men who would bet it all, feverish with hope, only to end up losing everything but the shirts on their back. And sometimes they lost that too. If only it was hyperbole. Betting could spike a fever in some men, and those stricken with the worst of it had lost tractors and cars and houses and cattle and eventually wives. Across the way, Sheila Mahoney was puffing on a cigarette outside of her hair salon. Platinum blonde hair streaked with green, spyglasses perched over her ample bosom, as if she planned on peering in on the games from a distance. She spotted Siobhán, held up a strand of her hair, and mimicked hacking it off. It had been ages since Siobhán had paid her a visit. She absent-mindedly touched her cap as she stared at Sheila's new black and white sign. Curl up and die. Siobhán turned her attention to the pub, and her heart sank when she saw the line. There were so many people they crowded out the front window, sporting Declan's collection of Laurel and Hardy memorabilia. O'Rourke's was an institution in Kilbane, as it well should be. Declan had been serving pints and holding court and hearing confessions longer than Father Kearney. He was as respected as he was feared, which was why his pub was chosen to host the games. If lads got too riled up, one could count on Declan O'Rourke to settle them down. Menace and knacks would not be tolerated, not in his pub. Garda or not, this crowd looked as if they'd toss you into the street for cutting ahead of the line. Siobhán was relieved when she saw Maria's pretty face pop up in the window and gesture to the patio. By the time she reached it, Maria was waiting to usher her in through the back. Tonight, it paid to have dear friends who worked in the pub. "Hurry! Round one will be starting so." They pushed their way through the sea of bodies until they could duck behind the counter. Siobhán loved the long, polished oak bar with its scratches and dents, initials and dates, secrets embedded like fossils in the watermarked swirls. Maria plunked down a pair of wooden crates so they could stand on them and see over the heads to the poker tables. What Maria lacked in height, she made up for with her big personality. She was not one to miss out, and she'd have your head if you dared exclude her. Siobhán scanned the room for Macdara Flannery, not sure if she was looking for her detective sergeant or her lover, feeling foolish when she spotted him in plain clothes. Their eyes locked, and her heart gave a squeeze. That tall man, that messy hair, those blue eyes, and that lopsided grin he flashed like a weapon. She worried once again if any of them had seen her sneaking out of his flat in the early hours of the morning. He was her superior, and romance was forbidden. Yet they persisted. She looked away first, heat crawling up her neck. She hated to admit it, but ever since their romance had become clandestine, it had added an undeniable excitement, a rush that fueled her days with an extra spark. It was hard enough to prove oneself as a female guard, and not a day went by when she didn't berate herself for the risk they were taking. For the first time in her life, she could relate to drug addicts. The inability to stop, the insatiable craving for more. Why didn't he tell her the uniform wasn't required? Her eyes flicked around the room, clocking the other guards. Not a single one had put on his or her uniform. She was like that lone Egypt at a party, who passed over a pretty cocktail dress for a rabbit costume. 3 months as a guard, and Siobhán was still making rookie mistakes. She took off her cap, letting her auburn hair cascade down, and unbuttoned the top few buttons on her starched white shirt. "That a girl?" Maria said, letting out a wolf whistle. Siobhán laughed, and was trying to think of a retort, when her thoughts were interrupted by Rory Mack, who was hurricaning his way through the crowds. "Hold the games!" Rory's deep voice carried above the din.